Governor Askew, welcome to the Bob Graham Center for Public Service. We are honored to have you here tonight. Adele and I are very disappointed that we are out of state and could not thank you personally. But there are some people who would like to thank you for your service, some of your colleagues.
Good evening, Governor Askew.
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 Good evening, Governor Askew. Governor Askew, as you're aware, the greatest need Floridians face today is the opportunity to get a good job. What do you see as the most important steps Florida's state government can take to get Floridians back to work?
Governor, I was the second youngest governor in Florida's history, but you were significantly younger when you became governor. What were the pros and cons of coming to office in such a young age?
Governor, you were often described as a New South governor. Could you please tell us what that meant when you were referred to as a New South governor?
One of the great reforms of the 70s was the reform in the funding of public school education and the funding for our universities. You exercised very strong leadership in that. Bob Graham was very much involved in the Senate. I was somewhat involved in the House. The citizen petition, the idea that the citizens could put issues on the ballot over the objection of the legislature. It looks like this would be the case with the funding of public education. I'd like you to comment on the idea of a citizen petition to put a constitutional amendment on the ballot that would require the funding for education in Florida to be restored to the percentage it was before all the diversions began.
I know I'm supposed to ask you a question today, but my real point today is to thank you. You may not remember this, but I bet you do. Right after I got elected governor, I asked for an audience with you to seek your advice before I got sworn in as governor. And you gave me some of the best advice I've ever received in my life. You told me, you said, Charlie, whatever you do, whatever all the concerns and pleas that people may make to you, always do what you believe is right in your heart. And it really helped me be a better governor, I'm sure. Thank you very much, Governor Askew.
Hello, Governor Askew. I want to ask you what I consider to be one of the most important public policy issues that's alive in Florida. How do we create more and better jobs for our growing population? As you know, our unemployment is above the national average, and our income per capita is below the national average. We need new jobs. We need more of the jobs in science and technology, and that's the fastest growing area in our nation. Florida employers said that they could create more jobs if they had more qualified employees. That's a national issue also. In a meeting in the White House in February of this year, some CEOs from Silicon Valley were meeting with President Obama. And Steve Jobs told the president that we have more than 700,000 people, that is Apple has more than 700,000 employees in China, because we cannot hire 30,000 engineers that are competent to supervise them in this country. That has to be corrected. Our universities are there, and they're capable of training more employees in Florida. How do we organize in Florida to be able to make certain that we get the universities, the research, the entrepreneurs, and the public policy people together to make an assault on this real problem? Florida is too big to fail.
Governor Askew, one of your many proud accomplishments was the establishment of a structure for land and water management in Florida, including a means by which important environmental lands and lands for the future use of Floridians could be acquired by the state. Much of that was repealed or substantially modified at the last legislative session. Where do you think Florida should be going in terms of preparing its future through land, water management, and land acquisition?